Jesus of Nazareth, King of Kings, the greatest story ever told, the Passion of Christ, and the titles go on and on. For 2,000 years, people have been trying to reenact what you and I just heard, the gospel of the Passion of Jesus Christ. And there is no media that is sufficient to capture the message, the beauty, the sensitivity of the gospel. We hear the gospel tonight of compassion. Luke's version, the synoptics, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, have their own versions of the story of the Passion of Jesus Christ. And in history, as a church, the life of Jesus was never told. The Gospels began with the story of the Passion of Jesus, whether it was Mark, Matthew, Luke, even John's version, which doesn't include much of what we heard tonight. And then after the Passion narratives were told, then our authors, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, decided we should start from the beginning. We should go back. So the beginning of the gospel, the idea of it, was the Passion. The gospel as we know it, 2,000 years later, goes back to the birth narratives, the kings, the Annunciation, and all those beautiful events that are familiar with us now. But that wasn't the gospel. The first authors, the synoptics we call them, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, began with a vision of the kingdom of God as presented in the Passion, the cross, the suffering. And then later on, they added the beginning chapters. What we heard tonight was Luke's version, the Passion of Compassion. Luke, throughout his readings, throughout his recall, always focused on the sensitivity of Jesus to us. We weren't there, but it focuses on the sensitivity of Jesus on his way to Calvary, as he speaks to the women who are crying and pleading. He speaks to them with tenderness. It focuses on actions that are very significant for us as Christians, reaching out and helping one another. He brings in Simon of Cyrene. And what does he do? He carries the cross of Jesus, the gospel and passion of compassion, Luke's gospel that we heard tonight. He even plans it that he will not die without relieving another convict. They allow the convict to go free. The compassionate one, Jesus, takes center stage and embraces the cross and embraces the negativity, the mockery, the inequality, and out of compassion lets Barabbas go free. Pilate doesn't know what his role is. From Rome, he knows what his role is supposed to be. Keep the people calm, collect the taxes, don't raise any ire of anyone. And Pilate flip-flops. He doesn't know what to do. He's mine, I'll condemn him. No, send him to Herod. Herod sends him back. I find no guilt in this man. But yet he flip-flops and hands Jesus over to the crowd. Jesus, who was already betrayed the night before in the Garden of Gethsemane. Jesus, who already was denied by a friend, Peter, hangs on the cross in this passion of compassion, sensitive to people around him, his disciples, and connecting with his Father in a very intimate way. Father, why have you abandoned me? But then realizes it's all in your hands. Your will be done. But before that, he connects with us in more compassion. As he looks from the cross down and sees the women who are mourning him and his friend John. And he takes care of John. He's hanging dead, filthy on the cross, and he's taking care of John, the youngest of the disciples. And as any good son would, the gospel of compassion shows the compassion of Jesus toward his mother, telling John, take care of her, as if she's your own mother, and to Mary, to you and to me, take care of John as if he is your child. And then at that cross, Mary becomes our mother, given to us by Jesus out of compassion, not leaving us alone. He didn't want to leave John alone. He didn't want to leave his mother alone. He doesn't leave us alone. With compassion, he gives us guidance and help. The horror of the cross has never been captured in movies or theater, whether it was Godspell or Superstar or whatever attempt movie makers attempted to portray and how to portray Jesus. If they were to show the compassion of Jesus today, they would have to take the cameras to Africa, to Uganda. They would have to take the cameras to the Ukraine, to Gaza, to Russia. And then maybe the horror of the cross would be emblazoned on our minds as we saw horror today on our streets, in political movements, the horror of hate. That's why he died, to relieve us of hate, to forgive us and stay with us and encourage us to love as he did. And if the filmmakers really wanted to capture it, contemporary filmmakers could film in our streets. And the cross and the horror of the cross still goes on. But our compassionate Jesus never leaves us. Our compassionate Jesus gives us Holy Week, gives us the Passion, gives us Holy Thursday and Good Friday, gives us the whole picture of the mystery of God sending his Son to us and us living the life of his Son. He was accused of a lot of things. But on the cross, aren't you the Messiah? It clicked. If you are the Messiah, do all the wonderful things that were predicted by Isaiah and the other prophets. No. He was not looking to escape. He was looking to fulfill the covenant, to be the Lamb of Passover. Jesus Christ is our Lamb. Paul tells us in his letter to the Philippians that your mind should be the mind of Christ. And that is our mandate. That our attitudes should be Christ's attitude, compassionate, loving, forgiving, aware of what's going on in the world, not being sucked down by it, but use it as a means of compassion and greater sensitivity. If any of us were moved as we heard the Passion tonight, or are moved on Friday as we hear the Passion of Good Friday, if any of us are stirred, if our emotions are affected, good. Good. Then we are starting to get into the mind of Christ. And then when we leave the building of the church, we take the church with us out there. The church of compassion, carrying in our hearts the gospel of compassion. Paul reminds us that it was no accident that Jesus, Son of God, comes to earth. It wasn't an accident. He decided to leave his royalty, his eternal glory, and embrace life. He's with you. He's with all of us. And through our prayers and reading of the gospel this week, let us walk with Jesus. Let us be with Jesus and bring Jesus and his compassion into our lives and to the world around us. Have the mind of Jesus Christ with this passion narrative of compassion.